Fox 61 breaking news now.
Breaking news now at 6. Tonight, we have an update on one of the two recent deadly police shootings in Hartford. The police officer who shot and killed Stephen Jones has been fired. Thank you so much for joining us on the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Annette Montgomery. Fox 61's Tim Lateau is live at City Hall in Hartford with the latest. Tim.
And this comes exactly 1 month since that shooting, which is also the officer's probationary period. And we've heard from community members who have called for that officer to be terminated, and the mayor said he has too. And while the Office of the Inspector General is still investigating, the mayor said that he had to take action. On February 27th, officers responded to a mental health call for 55-year-old Stephen Jones, who family and friends say went by Stevie. The body camera footage shows Jones was holding a large knife. Several officers tried to talk with Jones and later tased him, which was ineffective. Several minutes later, Officer Joseph Bignano arrived on scene. According to the preliminary report from the Office of the Inspector General, Bignano fired his gun 9 times at Jones. Jones died 5 days later from his injuries. The police department placed Bignano on administrative leave. Nationally known civil rights attorney Ben Crump is representing the Jones family. Crump released a statement about an hour ago and said the firing of Bignano is a step in the right direction, but that it can't be the end of the process. He added that mental health calls need to be treated with a compassionate response, not deadly force. Crump has previously said his team would consider taking legal action against the police department and city. Mayor Runan Orlamplam has spent time reviewing the case and decided to terminate Bignano at the end of his probationary period today. The Hartford Police Union President James Rutkowski is at odds with the mayor and called him a coward.
This is a tragedy of justice and process. Our mayor caved to political pressure. He is a coward. He is devoid of any semblance of leadership or manhood.
I've been consistently clear about how disturbed I have been by the images I saw that we all saw, from the body-worn camera footage to the public videos that were shared.
And we'll have more coming up at 7 on Fox 61 Plus from both the mayor and the police union. Live in Hartford, Tim Lateau, Fox 61.
Thank you, Tim. In sports news, they call Storrs the basketball capital of the world. And tonight, the Huskies are in the nation's capital. And that's with the trip to the Elite Eight on the line. UConn will square off against Michigan State tonight at Capital One Arena. And that's where we find Fox 61's Alexa Harley. Alexa, these are two teams from two different conferences, but they actually have a bit of history this season.
Yeah, the Huskies are gearing up for a 9:45 tip against the Spartans here in Washington, D.C. And like you said, these two actually have a bit of history this season. The two powerhouses met back in October in what was an exhibition game. UConn did walk away with a win, but I know you're thinking an exhibition game doesn't really count. It's before the season. You're mixing up rosters, mixing up starting five, seeing what works for you. And you'd be correct. It doesn't really count. Rosters have changed. There's been injuries. They've changed game plans. They've faced new teams all the way into March. But back then, UConn saw some of the areas they needed to work on thanks to Michigan State and Tom Izzo and his crew. And both Alex Caravan and Coach Ed Hurley said that they've actually looked back at some of the film from that exhibition game to prepare for tonight.
The physicality that they play with, the rebounding, how fast they play at the pace that they play at. So there's a couple of key pointers that you could remember. Obviously the personnel too, but I mean, they're so different from October to March, just like we are, and how much better they've gotten. And I mean, their freshmen have gotten so much better. Just everyone on the roster has been playing way better than they obviously have in October. So I think you just remember the physicality and the pace that they play at.
Doing the exhibition is there's no greater test than playing, Michigan State or a Tom Izzo coach team, or this group of just credible players they got, the men they have on the team. So we were very intentional about trying to schedule them for that game right before the opener, so we could really identify our vulnerabilities, and they were on full display in that game. They exposed us. I think we gave up 6 or 7 free throw rebounds in that game. Our transition defense was a joke. We got assaulted on the glass. There was a lot there in that game that we were able to show the guys this week when we got manhandled. We're a much different team. They're a much different team, but there's certainly it helped us both get ready for November and December because we're obviously two of the best teams in the country.
We still have a lot of time here in D.C. before we see Michigan State and UConn tip off. You can see the Duke and St. John fans pouring in behind me into the arena. That's because their game is up in about an hour. But we're going to take a trip now down to Texas, where the UConn women should be taking the court right now to face UNC in their Sweet 16 battle. Now for AZ Fudd, this is her last run in a UConn jersey, her last couple of games where she will represent the Huskies. And she says that this entire time, her entire journey with UConn has been special. She's been grateful for all of it.
I mean, it's so crazy to see so many people wearing stuff with my name on it, with my face on it. It doesn't get old. It still surprises me. I can't emphasize enough how special a place this is.
Now, Fox 61's Sean Humphrey is in Fort Worth, Texas right now, covering that game, watching UConn and UNC square off. So make sure you tune into Connecticut Game Week tonight at 7:30 right here on Fox 61. I'll be joined by Sean Humphrey as we come to you from our respective arenas, him in Texas, me here in D.C., to give you a much deeper dive into these Sweet 16 matchups and the UConn men and women's journey so far in the NCAA tournament. For now, live outside Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., Alexa Harley, Fox 61 Sports.
Thank you, Alexa. Pro golfer Tiger Woods is facing DUI-related charges after a rollover crash in Florida. Authorities say he showed signs of impairment at the scene but did not have any injuries. A breathalyzer test found no alcohol in his system, though he refused a drug screening. He's now charged with DUI involving property damage and refusing a lawful test, both misdemeanors. Several Connecticut schools have confirmed they were victims of a swatting incident that sent several of them into lockdown this morning. Woodstock Academy was one of those schools faced with those threatening calls. Fox 61's Jamel Johnson was on campus and shared what he learned from the school.
That fake phone call threat disrupted an entire day of learning for students here at Woodstock Academy. We spoke with the National Association for School Resource Officers, who say this is an unfortunate common occurrence. This email was sent out to the Woodstock Academy community earlier in the school day. It urged students and staff to shelter in place, and for those who hadn't made it to campus yet, to stay home until further notice. The school later found out the whole thing was a hoax. We spoke with Mac Hardy, a former school resource officer and director of the National Association for School Resource Officers, about how common these calls are becoming.
We have been facing this now for the past couple of years in alarming numbers across the country, from coast to coast. It's a shame that it interrupts the educational process when you do cancel school, or it is a situation that causes an alarm to a great number of people in the community.
According to a statement from Woodstock Academy, they said after law enforcement completed their investigation and determined there was no active threat, the lockdown was lifted. However, out of an abundance of caution and in coordination with local authorities, we made the decision to dismiss students early. All after-school activities are also canceled for today.
We have what we call swatting calls, where somebody calls in and said there's an event occurring at that moment inside the school, like a shooting inside of a school. A lot of times, if it's an actual call, you receive multiple calls. When you only receive that one call, then those flags start going up, and you start realizing that this is probably a hoax call.
The NASRO believes canceling school increases the possibility of these kinds of calls, but there are also times of the school year when they happen more often.
We used to get a lot of fake calls around exam times because somebody didn't study. They make a call and hopefully get out of taking that test for that day. But now these calls aren't always just coming from the community in which they live. I think they're now more focused on causing fear within a community, and the time frame that they're happening isn't just around exam time or after a long displacement from school.
State police say the investigation will continue as they try to figure out who made that call. Hardy said that these calls are classified as terroristic threats, and there have been successful prosecutions in recent years in an attempt to deter the behavior. In Woodstock, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.
Thank you so much, Jamel. And among the other Connecticut schools to receive threats this morning was Ledyard High School, which opted to cancel classes as police were called in to investigate an incident targeting their campus. Fox 61's Erin Coogan spoke to students and local law enforcement and shares what she's gathered today from Ledyard.
Well, here in Ledyard, police say it was an early morning phone call that prompted the swift response. They say a person reached out to front office staff, warning they were headed to campus armed with a gun.
It's sad that this is a reality we have to live with, that we can't just go to school to learn, and we have to be worried about if we can make it home or not.
For Ledyard High School senior Benjamin Patton, what started as just a typical Friday morning soon turned to anything but.
But my brother, he had gone to school, and my mom told me that he got turned away, and my girlfriend had texted me if I knew why there were a bunch of cops at the school.
It was just after 7:30 Friday morning. Ledyard police say they were called to the high school to investigate threats to the campus. But given first period classes started less than 15 minutes later,
there was movement of students, a lot to deal with.
The typical flow of the early morning school rush was brought to a halt. Parents and kids pulling up to school were instructed to return home. Students already on campus were placed into lockdown, and out of an abundance of caution, the district canceled all classes for the remainder of the day.
That required us to basically everyone who was already secured, for the officers to do a sweep of the building to ensure that there was no imminent danger. And then at that point assisted with the orderly dismissal of students.
And while given the all clear several hours later, Ledyard police say as this marks just one of several recent threatening incidents spanning school districts across the state, continued investigation will be in joint collaboration with state and local agencies.
Intelligence generally in the state gets sent to a centralized location, which we call CTIC. All of us participate. We're looking for similarities. We're looking for situations where we may be able to help each other, and just combining all the information together to try to figure out exactly where that ultimately leads us.
On Friday alone, in addition to Ledyard, Putnam Middle School reported a bomb threat coming from a hacked student's email, and Woodstock Academy called for an early dismissal after receiving its own threatening phone call. The troubling series of events, one Connecticut Education Association Secretary Gail Jordan says needs to remain at the forefront of both public policy and safety discussions.
Every year, we should be taking another look at our policies that are in place and making sure that they're addressing everything, because there are, unfortunately, new ways that threats are being made and new ways that people are finding to make it challenging or scary for folks to go to school.
Meanwhile, Ledyard police say folks can expect increased surveillance at school-sanctioned events over the weekend and possibly into next week. In Ledyard, Aaron Coogan, Fox 61.
Thank you, Aaron. A man has been arrested after police say he burglarized a home and then fled the country. Police say someone from East Lyme reported a burglary at their home back in November and said it involved $150,000 in cash and jewelry. Police say the suspect, Robert Millwood of Maryland, went to Jamaica after investigators tried to interview him. Millwood was arrested at the Baltimore airport when he returned back to the U.S. East Lyme investigators took him into custody on Wednesday.